Hello friends, this is Olga. This is my evening usual walk with my cats. Unfortunately, my cats, they sitting all days in the small room or flat, but for me it's like a room. Actually, it's very small. It's hot, so while it's early or even late evening, I try to let them go out. Here is Lolita. Hello. This video is a little bit about me, just some in few words about my updates from my refugees life. And also I want to tell you about the news from Ukraine. I mean what is the Ukrainians know about war, and what the key topics Ukrainian society uh, discuss inside in Ukraine. So what about me, about my life and study here in Italy? For 1 week, my education, my fourth year of medical university will start. And be honest, I had a lot of worries during these months in August if I can continue to study here and stay in Italy. That was because I have some obligations here, because I found that job, it's not forever, it's also temporary, but anyway, it's just obligations some, and I have to combine it with obligations in my university, and that was hard. This winter I planned to return in August to Ukraine, but this summer I realized these obligations, and it was not easy to what to do, how to combine. And I'm so happy that my university let me and some other students to continue study medicine, to continue study online. It's such a good news for me. I'm very happy about that. The permission to study online is possible for Ukrainian students only who have documents, who have strong proofs that they are not in Ukraine. The garden is small here. You see, it has some mesh or something around, but anyway, there is some still few gaps. Cats can find them out and penetrate through them, so I have to be very attentive, especially it's quite dark here, so I have to watch for them. So it's my task now. Here you see the road, and I'm here started to jogging a little, because I discovered that this time I had been to Italy, I gained some weight. It's not much, like I'm not very obese, but anyway, this year brought it to me, and I didn't add a lot, so I can conclude that it's like a consequence of stress. Because when person have stress, this person has the dysregulation of different hormones, and that's what happened to me because just of the stress. Now I am ready to talk to you not just about my refugees life, but about that things that are important for Ukrainian society, that are the most discussed inside of Ukrainian society. And I hope very much that after this video you will understand the spirit, the intentions, the mood of Ukrainians, and what kind of changes Ukrainian society have now inside. Of course, the first, the most discussed topic every day, it is the war, it is military actions. And actually in Ukrainian society, the vision of this is more positive, I would say, than here, for example, in Italy or in other countries. However, I can tell you more about Italy because I had several talks with people here about it. I think that the part of this positive and this positive attitude and this faith in Ukrainian victory belongs to the events that are happens inside of Ukrainian society. This changes, it's like engine, you know, of the young society that wants change and change for the better. And another thing that probably creates this positive mood, why Ukrainians believe in their victory, I think it's the television. I think that Ukrainian propaganda also exists, and we cannot deny it. And this propaganda produce this image that the war for Ukrainians is so easy, and probably the goal of this propaganda is like to create to make people not afraid, to make people be more calm, and I think it's a little bit not good, because people believe that the Ukraine will win this war easily, and after such a everyday news, everyday opinion they receiving, they became more relaxed, they start to help less, and it's not that good. But from the other hand, in Ukraine, we have also a lot of numerous journalists, for example, the Mr. Butusov, it's one of the, I think, famous such representatives who are attending the front line. They creating a lot of videos, documentaries. Probably documentaries will be a little bit later, but they collect a lot of video materials, some interviews of the fighters on the front line. They risk their life, and actually every time they return here on the more calm territory in Kiev, for example, they telling to people truth, and they telling that you don't have to believe that everything is fine, that the war for us so easy, because it's not true, because fight happens on every meter of every meter of our territory, and the Russians, they can be strong, they can be very confident in fights. Of course, there is some part of people who were mobilized or imprisoned, people who were sent to war. But anyway, there is a still huge part of professional Russian soldiers, and they are quite strong. So basically, Ukrainians may watch different sources of information, and they can have their complex vision of that happens. And I think probably some disadvantage of such a people, such a journalist who attending the war and who bringing this raw video materials, interviews with different soldiers, and they telling their opinion and showing the reality, that the war is not a show, that the war is not easy. The minus of such reporters, such journalists. One, for example, journalist was in one small department, and because of this situation on this small department in that period exactly, he can judge about everything that happens, but the complex vision, the complex goals and strategy, these people, these journalists, they do not know. And actually they do not have to know it because it's a secret. And I must say that I think this propaganda is that on television is not that very bad that we have, because television it's mass media, and all can watch it and all can make conclusions, and a lot of different betrayers and Russian agents, they also listening and watching different Ukrainian channels, and they try to catch at least something useful for Russia information from the enemy side. So to fool a little of for civilian people, for their benefit, for their good future, it's not that bad thing, because actually we are civilians and we don't know much about war, and we don't know and don't have to know about the general plans and even small tactical plans of the higher commanders of Ukrainian army. So there are a lot of also different experts, but I wouldn't say that these experts like they know everything. They just give their own vision, their own opinion, how it might be, what it could be. Like, it's all like talks that we never know what is exactly the plans, and why Ukrainians so believe in their victory, why Ukrainian society is so energetic and have this faith in victory that they will win. Do Ukrainians do everything to do that? I think it's not happened just when the war started in 2020 or 2014, when Russia just captured Donbass and Crimea before. It all happened even earlier. First sign was the Orange Revolution, when Ukrainians choose democratic way, democratic path. Ukrainian society now, I could compare as a teenager, as a young person that wants to do something more, go forward. Guess what side usually wins? Well, in good movies, yes, in good stories, usually young, positive, full of energy side usually wins, even if the other side, like more old, full of influence, money, and controlling ideas to control others, usually should lose. And those things, like from the 20th century for Ukrainians, like for example Second World War or Stalin's time or USSR times, it's something that we know about, but for us it is history. It's history like First World War or something else. For us, it's not interesting. For Ukrainian society, interesting is the future. For Ukrainian society, interesting, we have the problems in our society to solve. Definitely, these things gave us, to Ukrainians, a lot of energy to move on. And the other things, the second thing that Ukrainians are talking about, I think during the spring and summer, they are talking about the fight with corruption, because unfortunately corruption exists. Yes, we changed our president, and I think probably the president, the ministers, like a head of the state, people watching them very precisely, and their actions, people cannot forget if these actions was not correct. But on the middle level, on state level, on the small level, the corruption still exists, because the people, got used to live like that. got used to have some incomes from the other scams, not official. And it's very hard to fight with some, woman. The city, some small department, and this woman is corrupted, and there will be no big meetings, big protests against her. And probably some families, some certain persons, they became a victim of her dishonest a little bit behavior, but it's not something that will explode the society. It's not a president's, it's not a minister's actions, it's just a small woman. And now I think, at least on the middle level, we are fighting with corruptions, because if society got used to such things before this big war, since 2020, in this time people are not pleased of corruption, because they said that how could you, someone dying there on the front line, and you here doing such a dishonest actions. And now people, they fighting, at least on the middle level, with such things. And usually journalists and investigators and public, investigators, social, I don't know, investigators, people who are like volunteers, they watching precisely on everything that happens on the middle level, at least what the state, different departments on the, for example, city level, what kind of stuff or things they are buying, and if it is necessary thing in the wartime. Also, one of the most discussed news, there's a lot of different news connected with this, on the religious field, because we have still some events connected with representatives, with personalities of Moscowian patriarchy, especially, for example, Paolo, the Mercedes. You remember I told about him in some my other video.
Не Паша Мерседес, я вже Тесла, бо я це все вже, дякуючи вам, поміняв. Нате, оце права її. Бачите, так? Подивіться це. Я ж на підзарадці постійно сижу.
He now under some kind of he is not like a completely imprisoned, but he cannot leave his house, and the justice process happens. It's like a little bit like a show, because he is quite well known. And also another thing that connected with religion and related to this personality, Pasha Mercedes, as I told you, it's the events that happened inside of Kievo-Pecherska Lavra. Kievo-Pecherska Lavra is the biggest and maybe the most important key institution of Ukrainian Christianity on Ukrainian lands. And what the thing that happened there inside is they really historical, because the first time after 3 or even more century, now our powers, they freed Kievo-Pecherska Lavra, this complex of monasteries, from Russian church, and it's really essential event, because the Kievo-Pecherska Lavra appeared more than 1,000 years ago, and in 17th century, when Ukraine became more weak because of different Mongolian and other tribes destroy her, Russian, they occupied this Kievo-Pecherska Lavra, and basically the mother church, that Christian church that gave the birth, that create the daughter church in Moscow, because Moscow appeared after the Kievo-Pecherska Lavra was built. So Moscow is the younger, and the Moscowian church is the younger, but after this daughter church depressed the mother church in Kievo-Pecherska Lavra in 17th century. So these are the the most discussed topics, and there are a lot of different other topics that Ukrainians discuss it. For example, we had a few days ago Independence Day. We discussed it a lot. Was a lot of discussions or other, but these topics I told you, they appear from time to time, or if we in case of war, every day. And people very concentrated, society much concentrated on these things. This is my video. I hope now you will be you will more understand what happens in Ukraine now, something more about my country. Thank you for watching. It was the mature medical student Olga, and see you in my next videos. Bye.